The first poem tonight has to do with a visit to India we made a couple of years ago. It's called From a Tourist Journal. In a precinct of liver stone, high on its dais, the Taj seems block hail. We came to Agra over honking roads being built under us, past baby wheat and undoomed beasts and walking people. Lorries shouldered white marble loads. Glamour of ads demeaned street life in the city. Many buildings were held aloft with liverwurst mortar. I have not left the Taj Mahal. Camels were lozenge-clipped like rug pile, and workhorses had kept their stallionhood, even in town around the Taj wall. Anglos deny theirs all Bollywood. On Indian streets, tourists must still say too much no and be diminished. Peddlers speak of it to their lit thumbs. I have not left the Taj Mahal. Poor men, though, in Raj-time uniforms, I'd felt that lure too and understood. In Delhi, we craned up at a sky-high sandstone broom cinched with balustrades. School kids from Nagaland posed with us below it for their brag books, and new cars streamed left and right to the new world. But from Agra Fort we'd viewed through haze perfection as a factory making depth, pearl chimneys of the Taj Mahal. I won't tell you how I got into Buckingham Palace, but one thing I saw there was some wonderful uniforms that officers on palace duty get to wear, sort of super dress uniforms, nothing much later than the 1850s, many colours. I thought they were wonderful. Definitions. Effete. A pose of palace cavalry officers in plum Crimean fig, spurs and pointed boots. Not at all the stamp of tight-buttoned guards executing arm geometry in the shouting yards, but sitting his vehicle, listening to tanks change gears amid oncoming fusiliers. One murmurs the style that has carried his cohort to this day, and now we'll test them. You have to kill them, Giles, you can't arrest them. Like most Australians, I suppose I'm fond of trivia. I've been at a bit longer than the rest of them. That's all. I love trivia, and this poem is, I suppose, a celebration of it, called "The Conversations." A full moon always rises at sunset, and a person is taller at night. Many fear their phobias more than death. The glass king of France feared he'd shatter. Chinese eunuchs kept their testes in spirit. Your brain can bleed from a sneeze breath. A full moon always rises at sunset, and a person is taller when prone. Donald Duck was once banned in Finland because he didn't wear trousers. His loins were feather-girt like daisies, but no ostrich hides its head in sand. The cure for scurvy was found, then long lost through medical theory. The beginning is a steady white sound. The full moon rises at sunset, and lemurs and capuchin monkeys pass a millipede round to get off on its powerful secretions. Mouthing it, they wriggle in bliss on the ground. The heart of a groomed horse slows down. A fact is a small compact faith, a sense datum to beasts, a power to man, even if true, even while true. We read these laws in Isaac Newton. One woman had 69 children. Some lions mate 50 times a day. Napoleon had a victory addiction. A full moon always rises at sunset. Soldiers can now get in the family way. all true. Since it's just after Passover, I'll read you this poem about a fellow who never could quite make up his mind whether he was still Jewish or had become Anglican. Name of Isaac Nathan. He was the first what would you call it, classical musician in Sydney. And he also died, he was the first man to be killed by a Sydney tram. 1864, it was a horse-drawn tram, but it did the job. The death of Isaac Nathan, 1864. Stone statues of ancient waves tongue like dingoes on shore, in time with wave glitter on the harbour. But the shake-a-leg chants of the Eora are rarely heard there anymore. And the white man who drew their nasals as footprints on five-line paper lies flat away up Pitt Street, lies askew on gravel Pitt Street. Jumping off startled horses come men and other men down off the horse tram, which ladies stay aboard and cram their knuckles in their teeth, because a grandson of the last king of Poland is lying behind the rear wheels, lying in his blood and his music sheets, where he missed his step and fell to be Sydney Tramway's first victim. Byron's Hebrew melodist, driven out of London by Lord Melbourne, by the inked horns of Lord Melbourne, is now being lifted tenderly. He, the Anglican who used to pray wrapped in a white shawl, is being wrapped in a tarpaulin and carried in catch-up cadences, with crotchets he might have scored, carried over streets to his residence, to lie in state on his table, Our Father and Melech HaOlam, then to go in a bourdon to Newtown and sleep near the real Miss Havisham. Fame. We were at dinner in Soho, and the couple at the next table rose to go. The woman paused to say to me, "I just wanted you to know I have got all your cookbooks and I swear by them." I managed to answer her, "Ma'am, they've done you nothing but good," which was perhaps immodest of whoever I am. This is another conversation I really had with somebody. It's called Phone Canvas. Chatting after the donation part, the Blind Society's caller answered my shy questions. And I love it on the street, all the echo and air pressure. People in my forehead and metal, stone, brick, the buildings passing on one side of my head. I can hear you smiling. There's a very good title. I'll just read you the title. King Lear had Alzheimer's. Brown suits. Sorting clothes for movie costume. Chocolate suits of bull market cut. Slim blade ties ending in fringes. Brimmed felt hats and the side-burned pork pie ones that served them. I lived then. The right grade of suit coat unbuttoned can still get you a begrudged free meal in a cafe. But seat sweat off sun vinyl, ghostly through many dry cleans and the first deodorants. I lived then. And worked for the man who abolished bastards. The Prime Minister who said on air, "I'm what you call a bastard, illegitimate," and drove a last stake through that lousiest distinction. Winding up at the bootmakers. The widow handing out her husband's last repair jobs, each already newsprint wrapped, sits meanwhile in their unlit shop, hands open in her lap. Bitter grief has nearly smoothed her skin. Kneeling up in Mediterranean black, reaching down the numbered parcels, as if returning all their wedding gifts. There was a bird I picked up one day. He'd run into it. We have this a lot, birds running into our big windows and picture windows, you know, because we live next to a rainforest gully. And this bird showed signs of life, so the poem was called High Speed Bird. At full tilt, air gleamed, and a window-struck kingfisher, snatched up, lay on my palm, still beating faintly. Slowly, a tincture of whatever consciousness is infused its tremor, and ram beak wide as scissors, all hurt Loganberry inside, it crept over my knuckle and took my outstretched finger in its wire foot rings. Cobalt wings, shutting on beige body, gold under-eye whiskers, beak closing in recovery. It faced outward from me. For maybe 20 minutes we sat together, one on one, as if staring back or forward, into prehistory. Croc. This police car with a checkered seam of blue and white teeth along its side lies in cover like a long-jawed flat dog beside the traffic stream. I wrote this one for China before I went there, called The Farm Terraces. Beautiful, merciless work around the slopes of earth. Terraces cut by Kurt Ho at the orders of hunger or appointing lord. Levels eyed up to rhyme copied from grazing animals round the steeps of earth. Balconies filtering water down stage to stage of drop. Wind-stirred colours of crop swell between walked buns. Miles of grass-rimmed contour. Harvest down from the top by hands long in the earth. Baskets of rich made soil boosted up poor by the poor. Ladder by freestone prop, stanzas of chant long lines, by back-wrenching slog before money, gave food and drunk, but ripped now like slatted sails. Some always did damn do, down the abrupts of earth. I don't know if you've ever been a Calvinist, a Free Presbyterian. I was as a child, and I owed John Calvin this one. It's called Visiting Geneva. I came to Geneva by the bullet train, up from Church Kero Lamps. It must have been the bullet train. I rolled in on a Sunday to that jewelled circling city, and everything was closed in the old-fashioned way. In the city of Palais and moored Secretariat, I arrived in spring when the Ferraris come out. Geneva, refuge of the Huguenots, Courtauld, Pierrepoint, Hazard, brothers Joubert and Murray, Brunel's young Isambard, and their black segmented Lord Rohan curled on his tomb lid. Roi le puits, sujet Nadine, that perfect captain said. But John Calvin, unforgiver in your Taliban hat, you pervade bare St. Peter's in La France Protestante. Calvin, padlock of the Sabbath, your followers now protect you. Predestination wasn't yours, they claim, nor will they elect you. But when you were God, sermons went on all day, without numen or presence. Children were denied play. I had fun with your moral snobbery, but your great works, your recruits, your winners and losers, you turn mankind into suits, even Italy, Messer John. That little bit of French, by the way, was medieval French. I can't be king, I scorn to be a subject. Was the motto of the Dukes of Rohan. Here's another Sydney Harbour one, I'm sorry, it occurred to me. Port Jackson greaseproof rose. Which spawned more civilisations, yellow grass or green? Who made poverty legal? Who made poverty at all? Eating a cold pork sandwich out of greaseproof paper as I crossed a circular quay, where the world ships landed poverty on the last human continent where it had not been known. Linked men straddling their chains being laughed at by naked people. This belongs to my midlife. Out of my then suburban city rise towers of two main kinds. New glass ones keyed high to catch money, and brown steeples to forgive the poor, who made poverty illegal and were sentenced here for it. And the first jumbo jets descend, like mates whose names you won't recall, going down behind the city. This midlife white timber ferry scatters curly bohemian glass 1 molecule thick to float above green dark of laws older than poverty. And I hold aloft my greaseproof rose. This one is closer to home. There's I don't know, you probably read the man, a wonderful ancient Greek poet, mentor of mine called Hesiod. And I wrote this poem called Hesiod on Bushfire. Poxes of the sun or of the mind bring the force 10 firestorms. After come same surname funerals, junk theory, praise of mateship. Love the gum forest, camp out in it, but death hosts your living in it, brother. You need buried space, and cellars have a convict vetor. Only pubs kept them. Houses shook them off wherever diggers moved to. Only Opal Desert digs homes by dozer, the cool hobbit answer. Cellars or bunkers mustn't sit square under the fuel your blazing house will be, but nearby, roofed refractory, tight against igniting air miles. Power should come underground from fortress suburbia, and your treasures stay back there, where few now grow up in the fear of grass. Never build on a summit or a gully top. Fire's an uphill racer, deliriously welcomed by growth it cures of growth. Shun a ridgeline, window puncher at 1,000 degrees. Sex is fire in the ancient law. Investment is fire. Grazing beasts are cool fire. Back-burning paddocks to the door. Ideology is fire. The British Isles and giant fig trees are water. Horse penis helicopters are watery TV. But unblocked roads and straight volunteers are life-saving spume spray. Water and fire chase each other in jet planes. May you never flee through them at a generation's end, as when the Great Depression died, or marvellous Melbourne. I'm racing this watch here. I've got supposed to finish at 7. The Mirrorball. Half a day's drive from Melbourne until we reach the first town that's not bypassed by expressway. Holbrook, once Germantown. Holbrook of the submarines, conning tower and periscopes rising out of sheep land. It recalls the country towns up the roads of 1940, each with its trees and soldier, its live and dead shop windows, and a story like Les Boyce we heard about up home, Tyrese, Lord Mayor of London. But now song and story are pixels of a mirror ball that spins celebrities in patter and tiny music. So when the bus driver restarts his vast tremolo of glances, half his ear-plugged sitters wear the look of deserted towns. At the opera, twitching the curtain aside reveals an ebullition of talk, including the word lorgnette, which I thought had faded before I was born yet. I'll finish with this one. True story about a chap I knew at Sydney University, and for the rest of his life, sporadically. The cartoonist. Harry Reid, whom Green students called Harry the Bolshie to his irritation, argued with libertarians and savagely with Hungarians, and recited Spanish verbs while trolleying cadavers in the School of Anatomy, in a fever to reach Cuba and fight in the revolution, which since it had taken hold there. Harry Reid spoke of camping in hollow logs with his father, then vanished for 10 years to the Bay of Pigs, to cartooning for Oi. Che and Fidel called him their kangaroo, their mascot. But when he wept home by ship up the harbour, he'd also cartooned in Toronto on the Star. The revolution was fine for getting parasites out of the bloodstreams of children, but not for the mind, the life of the mind, Kangaroo Harry told me. 10 more years and he lived in the Harold Park Hotel by the dog track, the harness track. The Harold Park where poor teens heard 6 poets for 1 beer. Harry wrote plays for there. One of Rudd, Steele, caricaturist, hustling a man to the gallows. And the revolution, aye, la revolution, was all back. Bay of Pigs and of missiles in its full santeria. Now his ashes would be scattered on a park in La Habana. Harry Reid all alone, and in time it was done. He led his kindly ash-bearers past an enormous field, where a running man screamed threats at them because a child in their party chewed a cane stub. Yankees sabotagando el azúcar. But no, they were Australians, un veterano, sus cenizas. And Harry kept his course in the week that Fidel conceded his error in having banned the Beatles.